Welcome, everyone. We are so excited on this beautiful Saturday morning here in South Florida. It's obvious that we posted the wrong flyer. That's what happens when you go ahead and you do. Now, listen, Joey, I want to thank you for introducing me to Gamma. I think, maybe not. But I figured let's try, because nothing gets your stress level up more than when you decide to go ahead and change a presentation at the last minute. But it is not November 8th, people. It's not Groundhog Day, okay? What is today? Today is March
March
7th.
7th.
My goodness, already in the third month of the year. All right, well, listen, if you're not a homeowner yet, we got to hurry. We got to make this happen. A little bit about myself. We have three presenters today. I'm going to speak on the real estate side of the equation, where Joey and Lynette are going to speak with authority on when it comes to the financing side of things. But I want you to kind of get to know me a little bit because there's a very good chance that you're on this call today because one of my team members invited you to be on the call. As stated, my name is Tony Martinez. My wife, Gabi, and I are mega team leaders within the LPT Realty system. We have a physical office here in Davie, Florida, and we're very, very proud and honored to call almost or over 130 agents are team members. So we're live and thriving. And sometimes people think, what's going on in real estate? Real estate is okay. Real estate is whatever you make it, right? Real estate, the market is what's between your ears. And we are excited that we continue to produce and be effective even in any challenging market. In fact, in 2025, we were actually honored to be the number 19th team in all of Florida in terms of production side. So enough of that. Today, we're also, as I mentioned, going to be joined by Lynette Fernandez, a loan officer with Clear Choice Lending Group, and the myth, the legend himself, Jory Rivero. I seldom meet someone that's more aggressive and more type A personality than myself. But Joey, I think you exceed me, brother. You are always on point. And you will forget more about mortgages than most people will ever learn. So you guys are in for a treat. So here's what we're going to cover today because I got to get you out of here by 5 p.m. I made a promise that the minute we did this, there was no way that we were going to go beyond 6 hours. And now some people are freaking out. Now is when they spit the coffee out and say, I didn't sign up for all day. No, 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 folks. It's not. We're going to spend maximum 2 hours with you. A lot of it, you know what, it really depends on how interactive you are. The more questions you are, the more information we can pass on to you. My portion will be relatively short, and then we're going to get on to the financing side, which for a lot of people, that's the big thing. But I never ever want to skip over some areas that I believe are important to know when you're making a decision as to whether buying a home is right for you right now. So today, here's what we're going to cover: home ownership versus renting. Okay. What are the pros and cons? What kind of real estate market are we in today? You got news all over the place. Some people are predicting doom and gloom. Others are saying the sky is all rosy. What is the truth? Well, I will share my opinion, and then you guys could do your own due diligence. All right, you're thinking about buying a home. Where do you start? The beginning point is critical. We believe that you should not ever attempt to purchase a home without the aid of a licensed real estate professional, preferably a realtor. And I'm going to actually discuss the differences between the two because one and the other are not necessarily the same. And then last but not least, what financing options are available to you? There's a number of different programs out there. Many times people think there's no way, given my current situation, I can qualify. That may not be the case at all, folks. So let's talk about owning versus renting and what are some of the advantages. So let's talk about, for example, building equity. I would like to also clear something up. One of the things that I'm very, very adamant and passionate about is that real estate agents tell the truth. I mean, the minute I hear agents embellishing or saying things that really they have no control over, I lose confidence in an agent right away. Does real estate build equity for you? Typically, yes. When you look at the market in its history, there's only been maybe two, possibly three occasions, two that I know of, where real estate actually went down. Okay. For some of us, we remember what it was like in 2008, 9, and 10 during that era. So what I always teach is that real estate is probably one of the safest financial investments that someone can make, that over time it probably will build equity. Equity is the difference between what you owe on the property and what you could potentially sell it for. So in essence, it's kind of like a forced savings account. As Americans, we aren't necessarily great savers, right? So having that home, in essence, is like that forced savings account. If you ever have a real estate agent that tells you, oh, real estate always goes up, fire them immediately, because how can they predict that? I use terms like typically, usually, because those apply. Generational wealth. This is important for me. I'm just a big believer that it's our goal, our job as parents, that our kids end up being better off than we are. And we have a big challenge right now in our society and our economy. Kids in their 20s and 30s are feeling like maybe we might never ever be able to buy. And it's because of so much bad news that is generated. And then when we sit down with them and we explain what the options are, they're like, whoa, I didn't think I could ever buy. I go, no, that's why you need to go ahead and get the facts. But I love the fact that do, when you are a homeowner, you are creating the potential for generational wealth that can be passed down to your kids and to your grandkids. You can't do that when you're renting. Look, I'm not an anti-renter. There are people out there that feel that landlords are the devil. And look, they're bad landlords and they're bad tenants. That's just they're bad apples in anything. I think landlords perform a service. If they didn't take the risk to go ahead and purchase that property and put it out for rent, person may not have a place to live. But the reality is that every single month that you pay that rent, you're not contributing to your financial security, your financial health. You're contributing to theirs. Some people will go as far as, hey, take that, you're taking that money, you're throwing it out the window. Well, I don't necessarily go that far, but I would rather have the money go toward my family than towards somebody else's family. Would you agree with that? Tax advantages. Well, can you write off your rent payments? No. Now, I'm not a tax professional. Well, I'm not dispensing any type of financial or legal advice here. But here's the reality of things. When you are a property owner on your primary home, your interest payments and your property taxes, you can deduct those from your federal taxes. That's huge. As you start going up there in income and you're seeing all this money that you're paying in taxes, what could be a huge, huge savings for you is to own your own home. Pride of ownership. Um, Listen, my parents were born in Cuba. I was born in Cuba. We came over here. I remember to this day when we bought our first home. Can you believe it? It was $24,500. It was amazing. Yeah, good old days, right? 4 bedroom, 2 bath. Go figure. And then I remember having $20 because we needed $500 to put toward the initial deposit. $500. And I contributed $20 from my savings to it. And I felt so proud. And then one day I was arguing with my dad that I needed more rights in the home. And he goes, why? He goes, because I helped contribute to the buying of this home. He goes, what'd you put? $20. And he says, remember that hole we cut out for the air conditioner? Yeah, that was your $20. So you're out. And I said, thanks, Dad. And you're probably wondering, why is he sharing this? I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like, hey, I remember why I'm sharing this because I felt good. We felt good. We had achieved the American dream. We were homeowners. And I think most of us, if not all of us, want that. Living debt free. What does that mean? That means that, believe it or not, there are individuals out there that actually pay off their homes. Many homeowners in America right now, a substantial percentage of homeowners right now do not have a mortgage. And when you typically get a 30-year mortgage, not everyone stays in that home, and I get it. But once you find that forever home, you find that you can pay it off sooner. And Joey and Lynette can talk about that in more detail, but not everyone gets. I know what my wife's the financial wizard in our home. And when we bought it with a 30-year mortgage. And then when we refinanced it into a 15-year mortgage. So now between that and making extra payments, we're not that far off right now from not having any mortgage at all. And I think that that's pretty cool. Now, something that's not on this list here, but I do want to talk about, and that is that the instability that being a renter sometimes brings. The reality is that not all landlords out there are very transparent. One of the things that I'm a huge advocate against is anybody that's behind on their mortgage payments ever renting out a property to someone. In fact, I advise real estate agents all the time, if you're representing a tenant and the landlord is requiring that they provide proof of income, credit report, all of these different things, do you go as far as requiring that the landlord provide proof that they are current on their mortgage? Because a lot of them are not. Here you are, you lease this property for a year and you think, okay, this is our home for the next year. And someone knocks on your door and says, here, you're being served papers. Or the landlord decides, I don't want to be a landlord anymore. They put the property for sale. Or you know what? A family member decided to move back in or come back. I need you to leave the property so that I can go ahead and do that. So those things don't happen when you're the captain of your own ship, when you're the homeowner. Now, the state of the market today depends on who you talk to, right? Because there's so much conflicting information. So what I would like to do is kind of get you guys to participate a little bit here. Uh, and I don't need the real estate agents to answer. This is not for your CE or anything else. This is for the consumers. Consumers out there, folks that are here as guests, do you think that we're in a seller's market or a buyer's market right now? And if you could share that in the Q&A area, I would appreciate it. These things have a way of going smoother and faster when we get a little bit of participation. So let's see if you're paying attention and everything else. I have zero answers right now. So let's go ahead and try that again. What kind of market do we have here in the South Florida area? Because this is primarily for folks in Florida. Or you tell me. Going once. Don't all answer at once. Okay. All right. So it's going to be that kind of class. I get it. Buyer's market. Thank you, Lachey. Okay. Pair buyers or consumers. Okay. All right. So far, so good. You know what? Depends on where you're located. If you're in South Florida right now, you're definitely in the buyer's market. This is why we scheduled this class today. Because you know what? If this were a year or so ago, 2 years ago, it was a whole different scenario. There was hardly any inventory. People were insane about making their buying decisions. They're making multiple offers. They're offering above not only asking price, but they were closing at above appraised price. Explain to me how it makes any sense whatsoever to close on a home $50,000 over appraised price. Yet people did it. That was part of the desperation that we had. The good news for buyers now, it is absolutely shifted in the South Florida market. Why? Well, because we have a heck of a lot more inventory now. In fact, we are expecting even more inventory to come on the market because there were so many sellers sitting on the sidelines, not wanting to put their homes up for sale because they needed to buy. And they had a very, very low interest rate or have a very low interest rate on their current home and didn't want to get a 7 or 8% mortgage on their new one. Now that we've seen rates drop dramatically over the past few months and few weeks, they're starting to get off the sidelines right now. Now, several of them, many of them, are still going to be under the impression that it's 2021 and 2022, and they're going to attempt to try to get that much for their home. And this is where real estate agents struggle with sellers. We have to remind them, listen, those days are gone. We're in a whole new environment, right? A whole new market right now. What a good real estate agent is going to do supporting you is we're going to look at the days on market and not only is and the number of properties on the market. And those two are great leverage on your behalf because not only are there more properties in the market right now, but the ones that are on the market are staying there longer. All right. Now, Where are prices headed? This is the part that no one has a crystal ball. We have seen prices level off. We have really not seen prices go down. Here's what's gone down. List price have gone down. Don't confuse what they ask for what it's actually worth. So yes, someone that thought they could get 475 3 years ago now is saying maybe I have to list it for lower than that. It doesn't mean that the properties are dropping. And here's the thing, folks, even if they were to go down a bit, if this is the home you're planning on living in for a while, it shouldn't matter. You know who should be concerned with situations like that? Investors. If you're buying a home to repair it, to flip it, and all that, I get it. You are watching the interest rates hourly and you're watching the market every single minute. That should not be the case for a homeowner. This is a long term decision. It is the best time to buy when you're ready, both personally and financially. That's when it's the best time to buy. Okay. Now, how does it begin? And I know that it's a very much a personal and emotional decision, but it's also big time a financial decision. So here's what we ask you to answer, not necessarily in this environment, but when a good real estate professional sits down with you, it's called a consultation. Okay. Some of them will call it an interview. I don't like that term. I believe it's a consultation. I've always trained my team members that what you first want to do is sit down with someone. Now, sitting down can be virtually, it could be at our office, it could be at a Starbucks, but we need to get your DNA. No, we're not asking you for a swab. What we're asking you is what are your desires? Okay, what do you want? And then we say, but what you want, is that really what you need? Because oftentimes we need to be the voice of reason. Somebody may say, when we say, what do you want? They say, we want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a pool and a large yard. And we say, fantastic. But do you need all that? No, that's no. I mean, we could get by with less right now. Because you know what ultimately it comes down to? Not so much your desire, the D, the N, needs. It's the A, your ability, right? We can only purchase within our ability to buy. So we sometimes have to sit down with someone and say, okay, what is it you want? I want a single family home with this, and this. Let's look at your finances and look at what you're able to buy. You know what? At this time, that's not feasible, but I can possibly get you into a condo or a townhome. Condos right now that is an area where they are dropping in price. And you know what? A lot of people think there's no way you can buy in a condo. Nobody approves anything. Depends on the lender, folks. And the lenders we have on the call right now, if anybody can get you financed into a condo, it's them. So what we also need you to do is keep in mind, maybe in the ideal world, you're living in, say, Davie. Many times somebody says, I want to live in Davie. Okay, let's look at the finances. It's not there. Let's look at Coral Springs. Let's look at Tamarack. Let's look at another area. If this is your first home, keep in mind, it's your first home. It's probably not your forever home. It's your starter home. Many people, they start off with 1 or 2 bedroom condo, in 2 or 3 years, they upgrade, 2 or 3 years, they upgrade. But these are the things that we are asking you to be flexible on. Be transparent. Be very, very honest with your real estate professional as to what you're looking for. But they also need to be transparent and honest with you and say, well, ultimately, it's what you qualify for. Why work with a real estate agent? We're not a popular profession. People like to pick on us. One of the things I laugh about, I was telling my kids about this. This is one of those things where you're going to notice this going forward now. Anytime you watch a movie or a television show and they just need one of the spouses to have a job, any job or whatever, it's a realtor. It's kind of funny because it's just, like, okay, it's a real estate agent, like, okay, anybody can become one. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say the following. You know what? There are a lot of licensed real estate professionals in Florida. I kid you not. You can take a rock, you can throw it in a group of people, and it might land on somebody with a real estate license. But many, many of those folks are not realtors, and there's a difference. By the way, it's not realtor, it's realtor. So if your real estate agent pronounces a realtor, You got one up on them now. You say, no, there's two syllables, not three. Okay. It just bothers me when they do that. So, what is a realtor? A realtor actually is a member of the National Association of Realtors. And as a result, we have to abide by, well, we should abide by a code of ethics, right? There are strict standards that must be adhered to. We must put your interests above ours. A realtor should be very, very knowledgeable about their market. One of the things that I do every time I, I teach a class for new agents, I say, learn the inventory. Anybody as a car salesperson, when they go on the lot, they always check to see what came in overnight. They know what they have. A good professional realtor has intricate knowledge of the neighborhoods, the trends, how many homes are in the market. And because we do have access to the multiple listing service, we have that information available to us in real time. Real estate is a very complicated process. There are more forms you can ever imagine. Oftentimes, shows and YouTube videos will make it sound like, oh, yeah, you can just represent yourself and go out there and do it. I'm not saying you can't, but does it make sense? Now, think about it for a second. Why do athletes, why do movie stars, and everything, why do they have agents representing them? Why don't they just negotiate themselves? Because you need someone that's not emotionally tied to the process. When you're the buyer, you're so emotional, you want it so much, you probably are the worst possible person to negotiate on your behalf. And in this market, it's all about negotiations. You know why? We still have very stubborn sellers that think that they could get much more for their property. So a realtor that knows what they're doing on the buyer side, we're going to come to the table with stats, facts, right? To remind them. We're going to do everything we can to negotiate the best possible price and terms for you. And that also includes our fees. The sellers have no obligation to pay the buyer's agent commission. Okay. That's actually the responsibility of the buyer. But a good, professional, strong negotiating realtor will typically get the seller to pay that commission. And here's the thing, the leverage you have as a buyer. You can instruct your realtor, don't show me any homes where the seller isn't willing to pay your fee. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of agents don't even know that. So don't freak out about, oh, do I have to sign something that I owe you money? No, you do have to sign an agreement because that was imposed on all of us by the National Association of Realtors back on August 17th of 2024 as a result of a settlement. So we as professionals need to sit down with you and explain that in order to show you homes and represent you, we need you to sign one of three different forms in terms of the level of representation you want. But don't be frightened about the compensation side, because if you don't have it and the seller's not willing to pay it, you don't have to move forward. And I hope I've made that very, very clear. If not, feel free when I'm done to ask those questions. I'm proud. My wife and I are very proud of the professionals we have working with us. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, you may be on this call right now because one or more of them invited you to be on here. Well, I want you to keep a couple things in mind. When this is over and you have questions, dance with the person that brung you. Go back to the person that invited you on the call. Okay. Now, if you just found out about us through Facebook and nobody in particular invited you, then I'll give you contact information at the end for how you can call our office, and we're happy to help you and go from there. The other thing that realtors do is surround themselves with a team of professionals. For example, I am so confident about our lending partner, Clear Choice Lending, because so often buyers will bring a pre-approval letter from ABC Mortgage Inc. and they spell Inc. INK, and I wonder, this is the lender you want to do the deal with? And you got these internet lenders and these national lenders and everything else. And here's what I always come down to, folks. I believe in working with people that I know, like, and trust. We do this for a living. So do you think we're going to partner with someone that we don't know, like, or trust? And this is probably the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make in your life. And you're going to trust someone that you've never talked to, or no one that can ever give you any reviews or firsthand experience with them. That would be a huge mistake. What we want you to do after you get most, if not all, your questions answered, or even some of your questions answered, is we want you to sit down with that real estate professional. Let's get that DNA. Let's find out what you're looking for, what you need. And then we want you to have a conversation with our lender so we can begin the pre-approval process. We cannot start showing you properties until we know what it is that you can afford to do. So we're going to go through the whole gamut of when, where, how, and all this stuff. Once we start the home search, the agent, the realtor is going to work very closely with you to schedule these showings so that we can go ahead and show you the properties that are available to you. Then, of course, once you're ready to make an offer, the offer is presented, it's negotiated. When you arrive at a decision and you have an executed contract, then the process of inspections and all that can begin. Okay. Let me reiterate, how many realtors should you work with? One. The realtor that invited you on this call, they're gonna pour their heart and soul. They're gonna pour their time, effort, and resources and experience into helping you. What we ask in return is loyalty. Sometimes a consumer will say, "Well, what do I do? I only get to work with you?" And I have a funny answer to that. If I'm looking at a married couple, I go, "Well, let me ask you this: how long have you been married? 20 years?" I go, "Yeah." Do you still date other people? And they kind of look at each other, and go, "No, I don't think so. No, no." And I go, "So you only got to pick one?" "Yeah." "So you're loyal to each other?" "Yeah." "Well, it's kind of like how I work. In exchange for everything I'm bringing to the table, you know what I want from you? Loyalty. I want to be your guy." So I don't think that's a lot to ask given what we bring to the table. So what I'll do now is pause for a second to see if there are any questions about my portion in the Q&A. And if not, I'm going to do the introductions for our incredible lenders. So I know that was a lot of information that came at you, but any questions or anything at all that you want to type into the Q&A area right now regarding the state of South Florida real estate as we know it. Okay. Now,
I also too, Tony, maybe
yes,
if you have a question while you're thinking about it, you don't have to wait till you can always type it in and we'll monitor
yeah,
that. Don't wait on the
absolutely.
question.
Thank you for for reminding me of that. Yeah, the Q&A is there, 100% open at any point in time. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Selecting the lender, right? I kind of been building this up. Folks, there are so many loan programs out there, and this is what amazes me, how they keep all this straight, right? You got conventional, right? And you got conventional fixed, and you got conventional 15-year, 30-year. I don't know. Is the 50-year out yet? Probably not, right? I hope not.
No,
I hope not. The adjustable
no,
rate mortgage, those are back. In fact, they never went away. For some people, that might be the way to go. FHA, oh, FHA is a godsend, especially for folks starting out. VA, if you are active military or you are a veteran, thank you for serving your country. And do you know that you have an amazing VA loan program available to you? In fact, only 13 or 14% of individuals like, veterans ever take advantage of that program. And it's mostly because the real estate agent that they're working with lacks the knowledge, they're fearful, and they'll do everything they can to convince the homeowner not to take advantage of this incredible program. VA is awesome. And then we also have some state, county, and local municipalities that have local programs for folks that need help with down payment assistance. Our team members are skilled and knowledgeable as to which cities make that available. Just understand, when they are made available, they run out of funds very, very quickly. So, that may not be the only thing for you. A good negotiation, maybe you don't have access to a down payment assistance program, but You know who can assist you with the down payment? The sellers can. There are sellers' concessions that can be negotiated as well. This is why we don't want you to think there's no hope for me yet. We need to sit down with you so we can have this kind of conversation. Well, at this point, I'm going to introduce Lynette Fernandez and Jory Rivero. I'm going to stop my sharing so that they can go ahead and share on their end. And they're going to go ahead and walk you through what you need to provide or be prepared to provide us from the financials. Okay. So, Lynette, Joey, take it away.
Yeah, there's quickly, Tony, just so you see there's a question in the chat. You might want to work on that answer for us while we're sharing our screen.
Yeah, I can't tell you right. Here's what I would tell you. The one area that's still rising in value are the high end. The high end is still very much is doing well. Those folks are hurting in any way, shape, or form. So when it comes to the regular medium area, medium price range, and everything else, we're not seeing huge increases in those, and we're seeing some stability in there. But yeah, folks with money usually have money, and some of those areas are still doing very, very well.
I do want to say something, and I think Tony will agree that this is a window of opportunity that I do believe is going to eventually close on buyers. With rates dropping, and believe it or not, even with the proposal of possibly eliminating property taxes for homeowners, right? Primary residence homeowners, those kind of outside impacts will impact the market. Where right now, when people say what's the best time to buy, and I'm not saying it because I want you to buy a house today, but you've got the most negotiating right now, right, Tony? We're seeing how many people are giving concessions today, how many price reductions.
Yeah, it's such a great time to be a buyer, and this is why, listen, the market shifts. When 2 years ago, I was directing all my agents to go out there and list properties as much as you can because the sellers had all the leverage. Now
Yeah.
we're like complete 180. No, get
Yeah.
those buyers out there. The buyers have clout, they have leverage.
Yeah.
And but
Right now
that's why,
we're seeing
yeah,
sellers pay the closing costs for people, lowering the price. They're doing things that have not been done in a long time. And the people that are getting it done now, and not to mention we're at a 200 what the last time rates were this low was in 2022. So we're at a point where rates have seen the lowest levels. So it's going to eventually start clicking where people are going to start, shifting and the market shifts. We just don't know when. There is no timing of it, right?
yeah.
I mean, let me, speaking of the Q&A, how many people on here were thinking about buying during the COVID era and held off and now regret it? Because I know we get that all the time.
But you know what? That's a double-edged sword. There are people that bought during the COVID area that regret having bought during that time because they bought at the very top of the market. So
It
they
depends on
had
what
great
time point,
interest
right?
rate. Yeah, they had great interest rates, and that advantage was eclipsed by paying $50,000 over, asking
Ask
price.
price. Yep.
So
Yep.
Joey, remind folks because the thing that let's just get to the nut of this, right? I mean, interest rates. People, what happened during COVID was an aberration, folks.
It's
It
a
never
blip.
should have happened. And in retrospect, it was a huge mistake for the economy at large. What were interest rates before COVID, Joey?
They were right around where we're looking right now, 4 to 5%.
Yeah,
And not just that. How about let's go back even further. How about the 80s when rates were 13, 14, 15%?
yeah. I
It's
was I was
wild.
an agent in California in the 80s, bro. It got up to 17, 18%.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yet people
So
still
right
bought.
now we're in a normal market environment. In fact, I think we're better than normal. We're still below the average. I think if you look back at a 40-year history, interest rate average is just over a hair over 8%. So we're still well below the average in the last 40 years. So it's still a great time to borrow. All right. So
Hi.
Lynette.
Yes, I'm up. Hi, everyone. I'm Lynette Fernandez. I am with Clear Choice Lending Group. Um, I'll have a little intro here. So, a little bit about Clear Choice Lending Group. Our team is experienced. Joy himself has been in the industry for over 25 years. We strive to make the process with as little worry as possible. We are firm believers in on-time closings. If not, even before then, our goal is to try to get that clear to close as soon as possible, so that if you guys want to close earlier, that's a possibility. We have competitive rates because we have access to multiple lenders. Okay, so we're gonna do the shopping for you. We're gonna price it out for you and do that. And we care. It's not just about, numbers for us. We care. We want to help you guys achieve your home ownership goal. A little bit about me. I'm Lynette. Been happily married for 23 years. I have two well, one's an adult and the other one's almost an adult, and that's my little doggy named Finn. Um, we have Joey Rivero, who has a beautiful family, not pictured here because I don't have his pictures, but he's also happily married with two grown children, one off to college soon, and two doggies. So that's a little bit about us, so you get to know the person behind the deal. So a couple things to remember. Take notes. It's gonna feel like a lot, but that's exactly why you're here. And this is why it also matters who you work with. So every scenario is unique. So we ask that you schedule time for follow-up. Just because you think something might not work, you don't know. Again, we've been in the industry a long time. We know what works and what doesn't. So even if you're not ready now, we're gonna help prepare you to be ready in the future. So we've got you every step of the way. Between your real estate agent, the one who referred you, and us, we've got you covered. So you're not doing this alone. We know it's overwhelming, and that's why we're here to help you. Again, as you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and then we'll get them addressed as we go along. So let's start with some buying myths because there's a ton of them out there. So we want to give you the truth. We're all about being very transparent, very clear. We want to make sure that you understand the process and that you go into it very knowledgeable. So one of the myths, you need to wait for the perfect time to buy. And like Tony mentioned before, and Joey's even referenced it, there's no perfect time to buy. The best time to buy is when you're financially ready. And that's why a quick conversation with us is gonna help you see whether or not you're ready now, or again, we're gonna help you prepare to get ready. Did you want to anything to that one, Joey? We're good?
I mean, listen, the perfect time to buy, if this is your first time buying, you're not an investor, you're not looking to flip a property, the perfect time to buy is always, in my opinion, because for me, I think as Tony mentioned earlier, equity and wealth is huge. And the statistics are there and the numbers are there. People that own property typically have a 40% higher net worth than people that don't own any property. So you have to look at it's not just shelter for you, it's a wealth building tool. So as long as you're buying this property because you're not planning on moving in the next, 6 months to a year and a half, and this is where you're going to live and raise your house, raise your family, or start your family, or whatever the case may be, this is not a bad situation ever to buy because real estate, let's get real, they're not making any more land. Like this is it, right? We've got our land, and especially in South Florida, you guys know there's not a lot going on building wise here, and if it is building, it's very expensive. So it's never a not a perfect time. Real estate always wins at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Another one of the myths is that renting is cheaper than owning. That is definitely a myth. In many areas, a mortgage can cost the same or less than rent. I've seen where rent is actually a lot more expensive than what I'm paying for my mortgage, and you get to build equity. So renting is not always necessarily the smarter option.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not an advocate of renting. My biggest fear for renting, especially if you rent from a private owner, which Tony addressed. How many times has anybody had that where they decide to sell the property? Or they decide to I mean the foreclosure one was really, really rapid back 10 years ago. But the people when they want to just decide to sell, or how about when the community decides, hey, we're going to raise the rent $100. We're going to raise the rent $150. That was going wild. There was no rent control during COVID. So, at least your mortgage payment doesn't get impacted like that, right? Your mortgage payment goes up your taxes, your insurance go up, but your mortgage payment is a fixed number that doesn't change every single month.
Yeah, that provides that sense of peace and stability, which is nice.
And the cost of moving. God, imagine having
Mm,
to pack up and move. Packing up and moving is the worst. I
the
hate moving.
worst. Another myth, online mortgage quotes are accurate. That is false. Online numbers often exclude taxes, your monthly insurance, HOA fees,
Yeah.
and that can be very misleading. So,
And they always often assume 20% down. They're not assuming first time home buyer numbers. They're not assuming South Florida tax numbers, South Florida insurance numbers. You know, we're easy to access and easy to do a budget. That's one of the things we focus on. We're going to talk about is making sure we can help you guys establish a budget to know what you can buy.
absolutely. Another one, pre-qualification is the same as an approval, a pre-approval. It's
Yeah.
not. Only a pre-approval proves that you're financially verified and ready to make offers. So sometimes a lot of those online mortgage quotes, they do what's called a pre-qualification. They get very generic information, they issue that letter, but they haven't checked any documents. So it is very different, especially when you're making offers. They want to see the pre-approval letter.
Yeah. And one of the things that I know that we do differently than everybody is we go through every single thing and we make sure that when we give a letter, we're closing.
Absolutely. All right, another myth. You should max out your pre-approval amount. That is false. Smart buyers are going to choose a payment that fits their comfort zone. Joey mentioned budget, which we're going to discuss, not the max you get pre-approved for. Okay, there is a difference.
Yeah, I think one thing that you're going to find that we focus on is we're going to give you one of the biggest things with us is the budget, right? How much can you afford out of your pocket today? What does your monthly obligation look like? And then we're going to work backwards and say, hey, here's what we think you should be buying. Here's what's going to keep you in your price range. And then at that point, you're going to make the decision if you want to move up or down, or at that point, you can make those adjustments based upon what you're finding in the market. But it's not there's not a big science to it. It's just honest making an honest number and an honest approach and saying, okay, this is what I can afford. Great, this is what we can do for you, and this is what loan will work for you.
Yeah. And going back to the renting part, the myth is that renting is safer and smarter than owning. And like we discussed, renting offers no stability, that rising rent and everything else. So home ownership builds equity, it protects you from rising rents and gives you long-term financial security.
Yeah.
So here's some truths. We're going to skip the myth part. The truth is that anyone can use FHA. That's not just specific to first-time home buyers. Okay, so anyone can use that. As a buyer, you do not need to give 20% down. That's not the minimum requirement. Yes, it helps when it comes to mortgage insurance and everything else, but you don't need to have 20% down to purchase a home. Student loans do not prevent you from purchasing. Self-employed buyers can qualify for a loan. A non-occupant co-borrower is allowed to co-sign. Okay? And bankruptcy or foreclosure does not disqualify buyers. So we can talk.
I think the biggest truth, honestly, Lynette, is that
Mhm.
a lot of people get their information from social media, from their friends at the bar, or they're having a drink or having dinner at a family barbecue, or a family reunion or a party, whatever, and they're getting information from, not the right source. And they're just hearing things, and maybe something did happen to someone or they had a bad experience or they didn't they like the FHA one, that's like a big one. When I tell people they can use FHA again, they're like, "Oh, I thought it was for first time home buyer." I'm like, "No, it means
Yeah.
Federal Housing Administration." Like does not mean first time home buyer. And those are just things you hear, right? When you're on TikTok and social media. And listen, don't get me wrong, I love social media, but it's also the devil because it gives a lot of bad information. So you really got to go to the source and go to the professional and let us tell you, hey, here's what we can do for you. Don't ever, I hate to say this, but don't disqualify yourself from buying. Don't ever disqualify yourself.
No, absolutely. That's why it doesn't hurt to have a quick conversation to see where you're at and see where you need to be. Because you never know, there might be a way forward. You just haven't thought of it
Correct.
yet, right? Or you have incorrect information. So that's what we're here. So as a lender, what are we looking for? There's going to be three main things that we're going to focus on. We're going to discuss credit, income, and assets. Okay.
CIA.
Oh, C yeah, CIA.
CIA.
So when it comes to credit, if you're not familiar, there's three credit bureaus. There's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Typically, they're going to use the middle score when it comes to that. And the score requirements are going to vary based on the loan program. So like you mentioned, FHA, that's one of our programs. They go as low as 580. Okay. With conventional, they usually go as low as, they're looking at least a 620 or higher. And then when it comes to VA and USDA, which we don't do much of here, they're flexible, but often you're going to see that we're going to get more approvals if you at least have a 600.
Yeah. So, based on credit, you guys know who, I'm sure, and this is what the next slide, perfect timing. Who here monitors their credit? Who here knows their credit score? And I don't want you to publicly put it on here. And I know the Q&A thing is there. If you want to put it on there, you should be monitoring your credit score. If you're not monitoring your credit score, and if you're using the worst app in the world, Credit Karma, stop using that app. That app is
Not
not good.
accurate.
It's not accurate at all. It uses its own scoring model. This right here, screenshot it, take a picture, do this.
That
If you
QR
can't
code
get it,
works. You can
we'll
scan
send
it.
you a link. And that QR code is to the Experian app. It's completely free. They're obviously going to try to sell you other services, but the free service is just fine. And it actually shows you your credit score that's on Experian. And it's within like hours of what we pull it. It's always right there in line. So if you haven't ever used this app, if you use it, great. I 100% agree. I think it's a great app. But I think that this app right here will be very beneficial to you, and it's also beneficial to us because guess what we don't want to do? We don't want to just have you come into our office or do an online application for us and pull your credit. That's not what we're here to do. We're not credit pull people. That's not what we're here for. We want to kind of understand your situation, figure out the budget first. You're going to know your credit score. You're going to tell us what it looks like on here, so we kind of know which way we have to go. And then when we're like, wow, this all sounds great, it's going to move forward. we're going to go ahead and do your application hard and get the approval done for you so you're really approved. This is one of the biggest things that we do for people. First thing is credit. And I think the slide before shows credit scores, people are buying with 3.5% down with a 580 score. Like it's a normal, it's that's what FHA is. FHA is a very forgiving government-backed program that is out there that everybody should be taking advantage of. And it's been around for over 40 years, and it's a fantastic program. So if you're not using this app, please do me a favor. How many people use the Credit Karma? I'm curious. Is there a way if you can put it on there? If you're using Credit Karma, I'd love to know because I'm trying
Maybe
to
they can raise their
publicize it
hand.
as much as maybe you can raise your hand. I don't know this Q&A thing. I don't know how to see if okay, there we go. Can we use tax transcripts? Absolutely, you can use tax transcripts. Well, of course. I just saw somebody answer me live. Just answer that live. Yeah, tax transcripts are not a problem. Anybody here using Credit Karma? Anybody use Experian? Anybody? Credit Karma is the worst. Yes, it is. I agree with you, Perry. 100%. 100%. It is terrible. Do not use Credit Karma. All right.
And
Well, I think
speaking,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, no, no. And speaking of that, I would say do yourself
Oh,
a favor.
good. Aline, I like it. Experience my favorite. It's a great app. I love it.
And it's nice that it's free.
Oh yeah,
So,
do that. Do this right now. If you're going to think about mortgage process, let her finish this,
yes.
but do this now.
Yeah, so opt out of unwanted solicitations. We do not sell your information. Again, even what he said at the beginning, we're not even pulling your credit. But once we're ready to do the pre-approval, issue the letter, we're going to do a hard pull. So I would, as of now, use those two websites to opt out of getting any of those annoying phone calls. Whether you're getting a mortgage or not, those calls are annoying. So do yourself a favor,
Yeah, I wish I could
opt
sell
out.
your information to make money, but we're not allowed to. But Experian, they are somehow, and or not Experian, excuse me, Equifax, they sell your information, and believe me, they will call you up and drive you nuts. So make sure you guys are signing up. This is a great tip. Besides Experian, if you didn't get anything from this so far, get your Experian app and definitely sign this up for the do not call.gov because in the opt out, you do not want these unsolicited phone calls.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's, any questions about credit that you want to ask? Because we're going to go into income real quick. So any
Yeah,
questions
anybody have
about
any
credit
questions on that? Oh,
on
just
that
let's get a
portion?
couple things out of the way. First of all, the pre-qualification, if you did want to move forward with us, there's no charge for it. We don't charge for our time. We get paid like a realtor, right? Two syllables. We get paid like them at closing, right? So we get paid after the loans, deals funded and done. So that's how we work. So there's no charge. We don't charge an application fee or credit report fee. And if somebody is charging you something up front, you should probably turn around and walk away. That's a very small company that probably just doesn't have the revenue or the experience to help you, and it's not going to really work out in your favor. Nobody should be charging you up front for getting a pre-qualification or a pre-approval. It should be a free service that they're helping you, and they should be doing this for you to help you with this consultation at no cost. So out of this, basically, credit shouldn't cost you anything. Can we purchase for a business during using Dunn's number and BizPedia as a credit reference? I'm not you cannot purchase as a business on a regular loan. No, that's a business would be a commercial piece of real estate. The only way you can buy in a business name is if you're buying it as an investment property, but you still have to personally guarantee it. So that's just a quick answer for you there, Perry. But yeah, please guys, do yourself a favor and do these two things. And as far as the credit goes, that's what we're here for. We're here to go into that. And we're going to talk about the income now, what you need to work on your income.
Absolutely. All right, so for income, so the factors that they consider, are you employed or are you self-employed? How much time have you been on the job? Do you have a 2-year work history? Has it been, that's the same thing if you have a second job as well. If you want to include second job income, they're looking for a 2-year history on that. Otherwise, we can't include it. The cool thing is that recent graduates can also use education as part of their 2-year employment history. All right. So like if you were studying to become an accountant and then you graduated, became an accountant, that time in school counts as time worked. So you have
Yep.
that working for you as
And we
well.
see that a lot for nurses, right? The people that are in the nursing program, they get out of the nursing program. 30 days later, they have a job. We're using their current rate of pay and using that schooling from them in the nursing program as their job history. So it is a fantastic opportunity that people don't know, and it's done every single day. So don't think you have to be working for 2 years if you were previously in college. Same thing with firefighters, police, anytime you were in school for a career. And I want everybody to focus on two because two is the number that we look for, right? Everything is 2 years back. So
hmm That's going to be the same now as we go into assets as well. So when it comes to assets, the money that you have, liquid assets, how much do you have in your checking, your savings, your retirement funds, 401k? You are allowed to use gift funds from an acceptable source. You cannot borrow funds. You can't use cash or credit card advances. Obviously, that increases your DTI, like your monthly obligation. Those all affect the numbers. You can't do that. And they're going to review the last 2 months of your bank statements.
So I wanted to stop real quick because for people that are first-time home buyers, obviously funds is always the first thing, right? How much money do I need to put down? So I'm just going to give you guys the example, and this is something that you can take advantage of today. Okay, gift funds from accessible sources. So obviously, if you're a young family or you have somebody willing to gift you the money, they can give you all the down payment. So let's say you're going to do a 3% down conventional first-time home buyer program, 3% down. So if you're buying a $400,000 property, $12,000 gift covers your down payment. Now you're going to say, okay, Joey, what about my closing costs? Well, that's the beauty of it. Right now, if you find the property, which a lot of them are sitting on the market 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, you can make an offer on the property and have the seller pay your closing costs. So literally between a gift and the seller paying your cost, you can walk into a property with $0. And right now, a lot of time, right now we're seeing it. I'd say over 65% of our transactions today are getting some type of a seller credit. In fact, sometimes the seller credit's so big we can't even use it all because there's not enough closing costs. So they have to reduce the price. So it's something that you guys have to really think, okay, maybe I don't have it today, but hey, maybe my grandfather wants to give me some money, or my parents want to give me some money, or your brother, whatever the case is. And an acceptable source can be a family member, it can be your employer. I mean, there's so many ways of gifts of acceptable sources. So it can even be your childhood best friend, right? FHA allows for that. People don't know that. So there's a lot that we can do for the gift that you can get into a property right now with literally no money, cheaper than renting. Or a lot of people right now are about to get a tax refund. Take that tax refund and let us tell you how much of a down payment that works for you. And then you can start shopping with that and have the seller pay your closing costs. So there's a lot of opportunity coming to us here shortly.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the bank
Um,
statements. Oh, is there a question?
I plan to relocate. Yes, absolutely. Good question, Aline. Your job history would absolutely be recognized, and that's also something that it's 2 years of job history, but it's just you can change companies, right? You can change. If you work for let's just use you work for I don't know, let's say Honda, and now you work for a Toyota, not a problem, right? And there can even be a gap of time. You could have been 2, 3, 4, or 5 weeks off. There can even be a gap of time. The biggest thing that people need to know is that we're here to help you solve those problems today, give you that roadmap. In case there is an issue, now, okay, here's what you need to do to fix this. And one more thing on the job history thing. Let's just say you've only been working for, 2 years and you're here, and then you took a little bit of a break because you had a maternity leave or something like that. That's acceptable, right? Maternity leave is acceptable. Hospital leave, if you were injured, that's acceptable. So there's always an exception to the case. Don't disqualify yourself. I think that's the biggest thing I want people to learn out of this is do not disqualify yourself. There's no stupid questions. Have a conversation with us and let us tell you, yeah, this works, or no, you're right. You're going to have to wait.
Absolutely. When it comes to your bank statements, this is what they're looking for. They're looking at cash deposits, any undisclosed debt, child support, and alimony payments. We're going to ask that you send all the pages, even if they're blank. We don't want you to alter any documents. You don't need to black out the information. They have access to that anyways. They have to see it. So when we submit it to the bank, we can't have that anyways. Your information is secure with us. And then we also, they're looking to make sure that there's not a bunch of money going back and forth being moved around.
Yeah. So the cleanest thing, and that's something that we like to kind of say is, when you start with us, we're going to try to give you an idea and tell you, hey, here's what you have going on right now. Here's what you should do. If you're 3, 6, 7, 8 months out, we're giving you the roadmap. Hey, maybe you should put everything into one bank account. Does it have to be in one account? No, the funds do not. Shay, great question. They do not have to be in one bank account. But what I will tell you is if you are somebody that does something like I have a friend who flips cars and he buys cars, and fixes them up and sells them, and there's a lot of cash going in and out. That's something that the bank's going to wonder, okay, what's all this cash? What's going on there? So those are the kind of things you don't want to show in a bank statement. So keep your down payment money aside in a separate account that doesn't connect to any accounts. And that's what we want to, we want to try to show here is like, hey, that's a tip for you, but when we review your file, we'll tell you, okay, here's what you need to do to make this work. And again, they only go back 2 months, so there's a lot of leeway there on how to fix it.
Yeah, which is why blacking out the information doesn't make any sense because if we can get ahead of something, it allows us to better
Right.
help you prepare. So if we know what's going on, we can be like, okay, this is how we can proceed forward so that there's no surprises, right? We want to make sure that when you go under contract and you've already paid for the inspection and everything else that doesn't fall through. Like you're not emotionally invested and you're not wasting any money either. We want
Yeah.
to make sure that we can get the
So
file closed.
the biggest thing that happens to people that they pre-qualify and they don't pre-approve is that they at the time once they go under contract, then they turn in all their loan documents and then they find out there's a problem. And that's when you
Mhm.
hear of people's loans falling apart or losing deposits. That's the difference of what we do. We're not going to let that happen because we look at everything up front and say, okay, you're good. You have no issues. Or, hey, here's what you need to do to become good so we can close in May or we can buy in May, right? That's what we're really here to do. Again, no
Absolutely.
disqualifying. Take that from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the common loan programs. So we mentioned a few of them. So the most common is conventional. In that scenario, people automatically think to, oh, I have to give the 20% or even 5% down. But if you're a first-time home buyer, you can actually go conventional with as little as 3% down. So that's a nice advantage to that. With FHA, they're a lot more flexible with credit. Remember, we said they can go as low as 580. In that scenario, you're giving a minimum of 3.5% down. As Tony mentioned, I think Joey might have mentioned as well, when it comes to the VA programs, they have an incredible program that allows vets to get in with zero down.
Is there any veterans on here? If you're okay to say it, some people don't like to establish a rate. Do we have any veterans on here who know about that program or don't know about that program? If you are, great. If you don't know about it, first of all, thank you for your service. If you're on
Yes, thank
here,
you for your service.
absolutely. But if you do know about it, you want to talk about that on the side or something, just let us know because that the VA program is an incredible way to buy a home.
Absolutely. And then we have non-QM, right? So you're self-employed and you want to like explore a bank statement route, or we want to do DSCR for investment or foreign national loans. We also have that as well. So again, by having that quick conversation, we're going to help you determine which might be best for you and what your best options are.
Yeah. So let me just give you a little non-QM thing. That just means that, there's a box of all the mortgages, guys, and there's one little part of it that doesn't, work in that box. We've got an option for you that, can help you. We can present. How does 3% down payment figure wise? Let's say an average single family may not be asked. Okay, so basically, Lachey, on a $400,000 purchase, you would need $12,000, right? It's 3% of the purchase price. That's how they figure the down payment, if that answers your question correctly. And then there's closing costs, which what we're talking about is we want that seller to, when we negotiate, and you've got a powerful agent on your side, you negotiate this and you make sure that you ask for the seller to pay for your closing costs.
Or a portion of it, obviously. Like that's where the negotiating comes in. But you do have the
Well, you
possibility.
go for it all. You try to go for it all.
Okay, so the mortgage process, what does that look like? So it starts with I don't want to put it on there, but essentially it starts with a conversation, right? Let's have a conversation. Let's see where you're at. But even then, I would say let's still do the application. There's no charge to you. Again, we're not pulling your credit at the beginning, but it allows us to get all the information in one place. We're gonna go ahead, you're gonna do the application. It's a quick, secure online application. If you have any trouble, I'm also available to help do that on the phone or in person. But the best, easiest way where you can do it from the comfort of your own home at your own pace is do the application online. Once we get the application, you're going to get another email that's going to ask you for specific documents, which I'm going to cover in the next slide, so I won't talk about that now. And we do what I like to call a loan analysis, right? Again, we're not doing a pre-qual, we're doing a pre-approval. We're looking at all your documents, which I'll discuss in a second. Once you get the documents look good, we go over numbers and you're like, hey, Lynette, hey, Joey, I'm ready to move forward. This looks good. I'm ready to go. We're going to go ahead at that point and do the hard pull, and then we'll get you what's called the pre-approval, right? With the
Which is good
pre-approval,
for 90 days.
it's good
90
for
days,
90
you're good.
days.
You've got a good 90-day window of buying a property. And if it doesn't mean your deal's dead after 90 days, it means we just have to refresh some stuff. So don't panic
Yeah.
about the 90-day marker.
Yeah. And
So that's
yeah, no. And you need that to be able to see even most properties nowadays. So like that's why your agent's gonna ask you to get pre-approved because they'll need
well,
that. I see Tony's back on,
let,
which means he wants to
you
add
know what?
something.
Let me just say something real quick before. Listen, guys, honestly, why do you want to go see property without knowing if you're approved? It's not fun to go look at houses unless you know you can buy it. And honestly, let's go show you the homes that you can actually purchase and know what you can get. So if you do find that dream home, I can't tell you how many times people go look at a house or walk into a home they love it and they find out they can't buy it or they're not ready yet because they didn't do the mortgage step first. Really the mortgage step is always going to be step one. It's how you're going to pay for it. When you go to a store and you check out at Publix, because we're all from South Florida, you get to the cashier, you got to pull out your wallet, you're going to pay for it. Well, how am I paying for this? Apple Pay, Visa, MasterCard,
Yeah.
right? Same thing with a house. You have to know how you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you can do window shopping online, but when it comes to from an ethics standpoint, as real estate professionals and realtors, we shouldn't even be showing property to anyone that's not potentially able to buy it. But can you guys talk to the myth around, because there's got to be at least somebody on the call right now that maybe is currently working with another lender. I get it. Okay. And they're afraid to even talk to you guys, so they think, oh my God, if you pull the credit or whatever, it's going to damage our thing. Can you address that myth about the credit reports? And because
Yeah.
I just want people to get a second opinion. If you're already talking to somebody right now, how can it even remotely hurt you to get a second opinion? Because
Yeah.
one of two things is going to happen. They're going to tell you, man, you're getting an amazing deal. Go for it. Or we're going to beat it to the point where you say it can save you thousands and not tens of
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
So, you know what, Tony, that's great. So, number one, credit pools, guys, are only a point or two. They're not going to make or break you from buying a loan. If we get to that stage of the game, fine. But as I told you up front, we'll give you that second opinion just with you telling us your experience score and what you're looking to do. We can get you that second opinion with the application before we actually get to the hard pull. And if you like the offer, then we'll do the hard pull and we'll solidify and lock that in. So that's I mean, listen, in my opinion, and this is I think you're gonna agree with it when I give you this analogy. How many people here have shopped for a TV, right? We all have to buy TVs. Do we not go to Best Buy? Do we not go to BrandsMart? Do we not check Amazon? Do we not check Walmart? Do we not check Costco, which to me is the best place because you get the free warranty if you have the membership for 5 years? But hey, that's my sales pitch for Costco, right? So you check around to save 50 or $100 on a TV. You'll drive around in the Florida heat to try to get that, but yet you won't take a 20-minute conversation in air conditioning to try to save yourself hundreds of dollars on a mortgage that you're committed to for 30 years. You know, on a monthly basis. So to me, it's wild. Or vice versa. Maybe they're telling you can only buy 300,000, and now with my loan program, you can now afford 340 and get you that additional buying power because we found you a better product. So you always want to get a second opinion on a mortgage. And I just want to cover real quick. I see, Lachey, you asked a question, which is a great question. Yes, if you've got your funds, you can always supplement them with and here's a great myth and you know the seller cannot help you with the down payment. The seller can only help you with the closing costs, but grants can help you with the down payment 100%. The gifts are good for the down payment or closing costs. Like Hometown Heroes, which is almost out of money, but it will get refunded again if you happen to be a nurse or you know a teacher, or there's a whole list of jobs. That was money they were giving 5% that they were letting you have until you were done with the loan. After 30 years, you would have to pay it back, but it would help you get into the home today, right? So there's tons of bonds and grant programs out there. A lot of them are city based, a lot of them are county based. There are income limitations, but we can help you with that. So it sounds like, Lachey, you've got some capital, and you know what? If we can get you a grant and we can help have the seller pay, it sounds like you're going to be a capable buyer. So yes, you are 100% correct, and that's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, so once we get you the pre-approval, you can go ahead and start shopping, right? Because now you know what you can afford, you know what you're comfortable with payment-wise, so you can go and you can actually make an offer. Once you've made an offer and they've accepted and it becomes executed when both parties sign, at that point we sort of jump back in there and then we get the contract. We already have all your documentation, most of it, right? Because we've already done, we did our diligence, right? Doing that ahead of time. We're gonna get the loan locked. It'll go to underwriting for review. Again, this is just like a quick overview of what it looks like, a bird's eye view. We have underwriting review it. That might go back again if they need additional information. We get the clear to close, and then it's closing day. The loan's fund. You get your keys, and that's what we're looking at as far as the process goes. Did a question come in? We still have
Yeah,
more
I'm
slides.
answering them all.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm answering. I answered the
Okay.
last two. So somebody asked about if one qualifies for a job program, and no grants are. And somebody asked about grants for second homes. Guys, listen, the grants and the programs are for primary residences. We're not trying to make you the monopoly man and make you rich as investing. But I will tell you this: buy your first property, use that property, get some equity, you refinance it, keep that property as you know, you take that equity out and you buy your next property, you turn that one into your rental. And that's how people build portfolios. There's no magic, you know, solution to it. But that's how you get started.
So when I mentioned earlier that after you apply, you're gonna submit documents, you'll get like an email from me, like what you need. But typically, this is what we're gonna ask for. We're gonna look for 30 days worth of paycheck stubs, whether it's for the one job or the two, as long as it's a 2-year history. So if you get paid every week, we'll look for 4 pay stubs. If you get paid bi-weekly, we'll need 2 paycheck stubs. We're going to look for the bank statement. So when I say bank statements, it's for the one that has the funds being used for the closing, right? So if you have a designated account that's specifically for, like it has like your down payment and closing costs, those are the statements that we need, not the other ones. We don't want to like inundate the bank with a ton of paperwork that allows them to ask more questions. We're just going to be like focused on what we need. So that one particular bank statement or that one account, we'll need your driver's license ID, 2 years of W-2s. So at this point, we'll need the 2024 and 2025 W-2s. And in some scenarios, we're going to ask for your tax returns. And again, that's 2 years. That magic number two keeps coming back. That's like the main thing. So we're looking for 2 months of bank statements, 2 years of W-2s, and then 30 days worth of paycheck stubs.
Well, we had another question I just answered quickly and I answered it on there, but it's 90 days. Somebody asked how long the pre-approval is good. From the day we do your hard credit pull, the credit expires 90 days.
All right. So someone mentioned earlier, I had a great question about what the expenses are. So typically the buyer expenses are going to be your down payment, right? That 3%, 3.5%, 5%, whatever the case is. You're going to look at escrow deposits. If you're escrowing, they're going to collect for taxes and insurance. You have the inspection. That's out of pocket. That when you do out of pocket, when you go on the contract, you're going to want a professional to inspect it, right? Make sure that it's in good condition and that there's no underlying issues that you're not made aware, like that you weren't made aware of that you just can't visibly see. So that's going to be something that you're going to pay out of pocket. You're also going to pay the appraisal. We count it as part of closing costs, but essentially you are paying that upfront. And then it'll show as a credit in your closing costs because you've already paid that, right? So you're going to have your appraisal that can range between $500 to $700. And then you have closing costs, and that's about 3 to 4% of your sales price, right? And the appraisal, like I mentioned, that's all part of it. So
So I wanna just say something right here because this slide's really important. Okay. So box number one, down payment. Don't count yourself out if you don't have it. Talk to us or maybe a grant available for you. Right? There may be a down payment assistance program for you. You may be able to get a gift. So there's a lot of ways to cover the down payment. The escrow deposit, that's going to be between the real estate agent and you in negotiating. And what that means, that escrow deposit, because that's people get worried about that. When you write a contract, there's got to be some kind of like skin in the game. And that's what I like to call the skin in the game, right? You write a contract, you write an offer, and it says, hey, if you accept this offer, I got to put up two, three, four, or $5,000, whatever the seller and you negotiate with the agents that you have to put in escrow. It doesn't mean that the money's gone. It just means that you're securing the property and saying, hey, I'm serious. Nobody's going to take their property off the market without any kind of, skin in the game. The next two boxes, guys, this is why it's so important to make sure you're working with a lender that's got, I mean, not for nothing, we have 500 5-star reviews just in our Tri-County area. It's important to work with that because this is your gambling money. And this is where people that don't do the work with the right lender, they lose on the home inspection, they lose on the appraisal, and then they come to find out like, hey, guess what? I've spent almost $1,000 out of my pocket and I've lost this money because the lender did a bad job and didn't look at my bank statement or didn't see that I was short on my job history or didn't calculate my income properly or whatever the case is. And we see it every single day. And I can tell you that this is money that I don't want you to spend for no reason. There's no reason for that. And then the last box here, guys, I just don't be scared of the 3 to 4% because what have we talked about? We're in a buyer's market. And if you do find that property that's sitting on there for 30, 40, 50 days, there's a very, very strong chance that the seller's going to cover your costs. Lachey, you were asking a question. Will so many deductions on taxes be a concern when someone files? That's a great question. So if you're W-2'd, it doesn't really matter. If you have a salary position from the government, the write-offs really aren't going to take effect unless you've got a business on the side with a major loss. Now, some of the taxes, some of the deductions is why we want to review all your documents is because some things can be added back in, such as depreciation, depletion, auto uses. There's a lot of things, mileage that we can add back to help in your income to help to offset the deductions. So this is why working with us, we'll review all that at no cost to you before we even pull your credit to establish if you can buy today. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
yes, and thank you for covering the
All
escrow
right.
thing. I went off on something else. I missed something.
Yep.
Thanks for
No,
clarifying
it's
that.
good. It's
I was like, when
good.
you
No,
said
no,
that
that's why
afterwards, I
we're
was like,
here.
I mentioned taxes and insurance, and that wasn't even it. So thank you, Joey. He has my back, and I
Nope.
appreciate that. All
No,
right,
we're
so
good.
he talked about this a little bit, but if you can add on to it as you want, like the down payment assistance program. So there are some that are available. Obviously, with every program, there's pros and cons because realistically, there is no free money. So what we can always discuss like what eligible programs are available for you when you're doing a mortgage application. But again, there's no free money. It's based on availability. There's sometimes, like when you mentioned, it's based on income. They may
Qualification,
require
household
you,
members, there's
yeah,
so
like,
much into it, but we know how to look into that for you. So,
yeah.
like, I don't know
So
if you
that,
know, right now Palm Beach has $100,000 up to $100,000 for first-time home buyers you can use as a down payment. So if you're looking in Palm Beach County, they've opened that program with the floodgates open, I believe, March 1st. So if you're working in Palm Beach and you meet the requirements, they do have income limits, and we can help you. I'll look into that, but they do have requirements. But that money's there to use towards your down payment and closing costs, up to $100,000.
wow. Okay, so as a homeowner, what are your costs and responsibilities, right? Because I feel like people don't talk about this enough. So, like when you're going into this, what are you looking at paying? So, obviously, you have the mortgage, that's principal and interest. Separate and apart from that, you're going to be paying taxes, whether it's escrowed or you do it on your own. You are paying property taxes. You are paying for homeowners insurance, in some cases, flood insurance. Some cases you are paying an HOA, whether it's quarterly or monthly. They have that. And then realistically, as a homeowner, you're also thinking about utilities because again, that's not part of the application process. But when we talk about caring for you, we care that when you guys know what you guys are getting into, right? So any maintenance on the home and utilities, those are some of the costs that you're going to be essentially paying each month for your
I'm
home.
going to stop you quickly because there's one thing that we do that I'd say maybe 10% of the lenders out there do. And we're going to talk about this quickly. I don't want to hold everybody up. I know it's Saturday, but taxes, guys. We're talking about the property taxes. And you're going to notice that when you go looking at homes, every property is going to have a different tax number, even in the same community. And that's because taxes are based upon when you bought the home, right, at that value. And then every single year after that, once you file for homestead exemption, this is going to get a little detailed, and I don't want you to go, get confused by it. But in Florida, we get to file for homestead exemption, and that protects us on the property rising and the tax number rising on our primary residence. So you might have bought a home for 20 years ago, and your taxes are very low in that community. But what's going to happen is when you buy the home, if you close on a house today, March 7th, 2026, and by the way, we can close on Saturdays, but let's say you're closing today, okay? You're going to buy your house. You're going to use that current owner's property tax. We call it riding their coattails. You're going to ride that bad boy all the way until 2027 November, when all of a sudden you're going to get this notice in the mail and you're going to be sticker shocked. Because if you bought a property that somebody has been in for 20 to 25 years, they're going to have a very low tax rate. And there's a positive to that. You get a low tax rate for a year and a half, easier to qualify for the mortgage. There's a lot of positive to it. The negative is when the taxes go up and the lender didn't tell you about it. And that's something that we don't do. We're going to show you the payment today. And when we budget for your budget, we're going to make sure you have that increase resolved. Has anybody here, I mean, there's no way that actually there's 36 people on here. I guarantee you that you've heard that happen to one of your friends or family. And you wouldn't have heard it if they closed with me or my company or Clear Choice or Lynette, because that's what we do. We make sure that you're not going to have that problem. We have families as well. And I know what a budget looks like. And I know that if your mortgage payment, your max was $3,500 or $3,000, and now all of a sudden next year your max is your payment goes up to 4,000, you're going to be very upset. And it's going to be really hard to eat that $500 increase. So that's what we're here to prevent. And I'm like I said, I can guarantee that somebody here has seen that happen or hasn't seen it happen, but we're going to use that guidance properly. So, aside from home ownership responsibility and cost, well, that's our responsibility to you to make sure you guys can afford the property.
Absolutely. No, I've seen that a lot. I mean, you see, I think other lenders trying to like be out and like say, oh, my payment's less, but they're not really accounting for taxes. So even though, yes, they can qualify in the lower amount, we want to let you guys know that, hey, it is going to jump up so
Yeah.
that you're mentally and financially prepared to take on that payment.
Tony, you
Yeah,
have something to say on
just
that?
a quick note, never give up. I figured out how to activate the chat feature. It is working.
Oh, nice.
Now that we're almost done here, good
Yeah,
job.
because the
So
Q&A, the
thank you.
Q&A, the Q&A. So chat's working. So guys, if you guys want to use the chat
I
and,
mean,
and
what was
drop in
wrong with
little
Q and
bombs
A?
in there,
I mean, Q and
it's
A chat,
I,
I
potato,
mean, we're getting it
potato.
done. It's working.
It's
We're working.
working.
Let's move on to. I want to make sure that the
Can I
people
be
are
proud
out.
of myself, Lynette? Can we just be
Can
just
we be proud? Let's. Hey, everyone, give it up for Tony Martinez.
thank you, thank
All
you.
right, great.
Right.
hey, there we go. Better than ever. Better late than never. I love it.
Thank,
All right, let's talk. We've been talking about this a lot. We've been talking about budgets, right? So again, we just want to like know what you're comfortable with. So we want to help you establish your monthly payment goals. Obviously, we're not going to go through and line item every single thing, right? But again, it's what you feel comfortable with. We want to make sure that when that payment comes through and you guys are in your own home, that you guys feel comfortable making those payments. So we just want to be there to assist you.
And no, and I think the biggest thing from that is no surprises. I think one of the biggest problems is when you work with, and I'm just going to say it, the big box banks, right? These big box Bank of America, Wells Fargo, listen, they'll get the job done, but are you going to have a guidance from somebody that works in this market, that knows what insurance costs look like, knows what's going to happen with the taxes, knows how the association is going to affect your payments, and shows you the right information? That's the biggest thing, that we don't want you to go under contract and then you get a loan estimate. You're like, wait a minute. I didn't think it was going to be this much. No, 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 no. Before you go under contract, guess what we're doing? We're running numbers. We're sending you a loan estimation, and it's going to be within dollars. Like we're talking $2, $3, $4 a month. We're very, very accurate, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Because the last thing I want to do is, number one, put you in a mortgage that you can't afford. Number two, put you under contract on a house you can't afford, and then do all that work for nothing. So, that's one of our big things. Tony, you got your hand up. You got something to say. I like it.
Yeah, I even figured out how to do that too. I'm on a roll, man. So listen, I don't know about these big banks getting the job done, brother. I mean, listen, who
Oh,
am I to argue with you? But you know what? We have had. I think you're just being overly nice today, Joey. You're being overly generous. I think these people want
Saturday.
they want transparency and they want truth. When we get a pre-approval for one of these big banks, I mean, we immediately go, oh, they
Because
and the
they do
national.
they do a pre-qualification, not a pre-approval.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's amazing. I mean, what happens in scenarios, for example, where the seller side is saying that you need to bring a DU, right? You have to provide a DU so that you can show us that you're truly qualified to buy. A lot of these big box banks, they won't even release that, even though the buyers are giving them authorization to release it. So you already are out of the equation. You can't even submit an offer
Mhm.
because of these banks. And the national ones, man, when you have a problem or an issue, they're in some different time zone. You can't even get a hold of them. The horror stories, we could go on and on. There's nothing
And you be,
like
and you
working.
better, and I will say this, you got to make that call at 4:59, because boy, that voicemail comes on at 5 o'clock, and that's
Oh,
it. They click
Yeah, we
out.
don't work bankers hours.
We
That's
don't
for
work bankers hours. That's one thing that's really good about anybody you work with on any of Tony's team, our team. We'll tell you, right, Tony? That's one thing, we're on call 24/7.
you know what? Again, you may already planning on covering this, but what about condos, man? I mean, I see a lot of lenders say, there's no way I can get you financed for a condo, but I know you get the job done. So tell them
Oh
how you
yeah.
do that, because that may be exactly what they need from a starter home perspective.
Yeah. So you know what we do is we have a whole list of approved condos we work with. So we're brokers. I don't know if we covered that, but we work with 11 different national mortgage companies, the biggest ones in the country, UWM, Paramount Residential Mortgage. These companies are funding billions of dollars in business, and they do have a list of condos that they're financing. And when we're financing a condo, we're making sure that the condo is great, right? We're making sure that it's that not only do you like the unit, but the back, the inside, the guts, right? The budget looks good. The insurance coverage is proper. They've got the correct money for reserves for any repairs. And that's why you've seen some condos not do well and you've seen some condos do excellent. So when you're buying a condo and you're financing it, believe it or not, the protection is there, because the bank is not going to make a bad investment. And they've got guidelines to follow. We know which condos are good. We know what to look for. And we're closing condos every single day. In fact, probably I'd say 35% of our loans are actually condos.
absolutely right. We're almost there, people. We're almost there. So the
Yep,
biggest
we're
buy
almost
mistake.
there.
Yeah, the biggest buy mistakes to avoid, not getting pre-approved first. Again, not just getting pre-qualified, but getting pre-approved. Not budgeting realistically, right? Again, you don't want to get in over your head. You don't want to start off that way, right? You want to like be realistic with what you can afford. Just because you qualify for something doesn't mean that you should max out on that. So just being realistic. Um, Making large deposits. We don't, again, that whole money being moved and everything else, we don't want that. Using the wrong lender. We talked about those box banks and online lenders. That's just not the way to go, because even as real estate agents who have been in the industry, when they're getting offers, a lot of them don't even want to accept those kind of offers, right? Because they know what's going to
Right.
happen. You're going to go through the whole process only to be then denied later on. So they don't even want that. So it doesn't even help your offer to be accepted if you're doing that. Do not buy a car before closing. I will say too, like if you any new line of credit, don't do it. Let's say we're like well in the process, you're about to get it clear to close, and you think, hey, I need furniture for my new home. And then you go out and you open up a line of credit to buy furniture. That can get the loan denied, right? So while we're in that, we're not getting any new purchases, we're not opening any new line of credit. Once you have the
We're
key,
not co-signing for our kid's car. We're not doing it. We're going
nothing.
to give you that, and we're going to give you the little do not
Yeah,
list.
but
But
just so that you know, like all those things, just for being mindful as you prepare, like be mindful of what you're doing with your credit, right? All those things
yeah,
can affect you. And I'd hate for you
yeah.
guys to
Even
get
and people
surprises.
always say, "Oh, but there's no payments on the furniture due for 2 years." I'm like, it doesn't matter. Don't touch it. Don't
Yep.
touch it because one of the things that people don't realize is the lender's going to do what's called a soft pull before you close to make sure you didn't do that. And they do it
Mhm.
normally like a week before closing. And let me tell you something, if you want to start a fire, that's how to do it. So,
And we're good, but come on.
yeah, we can't
Even,
help you there. If you did that on
yeah,
the
even
weekend,
that we can't do.
I'm not following you around.
Yeah. Is
I
now
think
the
we've
right time
covered
to buy?
this.
Huh?
Yeah. I think we covered this like over
No,
and
I was
over
like,
again.
we talked about this a lot. That was
I
just
was
an
gonna say, I was gonna say, people probably don't want to hear about that
they
anymore.
want to hear it
You
one
know what
more
I do? You know
time.
what I do want before we go to the look for a house part? Does anybody have any questions that they want to cover now that the chat's open or
Well,
Q&A
that
or
was the
whatever? I got
next
them both
one. You
open.
jumped
Oh, it
ahead.
is? Oh, my bad,
See,
my
we're
bad.
like right
Sorry, go
there. And
back,
when I said we're
go
almost
back.
done, essentially three key things. The application, like I mentioned before, you can go to loansbylinet.com. That's the application. Reach out to me. I can get the application to you. Again, documentation. And then once you're pre-approved, we'll talk about all that. So essentially, we have the conversation, application, get you pre-approved so that you can go out and start house shopping with
I also want to say
the
something
things.
too, just so you guys know, if you want to do this in person, we love that too. I have a really beautiful, I have a nice office. You can come into if you don't like the conference room setting. We got a lounge that we do our podcast in. Have a cup of coffee and let's talk about it. We like in person and we work around your schedule. So if you can't come in at 5 because you're working, you can do 6:30 or you need a Saturday morning or whatever the case is. We're gonna or a Sunday even. We're gonna help you there. So if in person is how you want to do it, let's do it in person. We don't
But
need
you
to do
won't get a
online.
bank. A bank will not do that.
Oh
We're
yeah,
a lot
no,
more
no.
flexible. Like as
We
of
have
right
a
now, I'm in
question
the office
here.
right
We have a
now.
question here. Yeah, we have a question. Does a transfer within your own account qualify as a big transfer? So, like from a seat, no, that's a great question. No, that does not. It does qualify as a big transfer, but you would have to just show the documentation where the money came from. So it's not that you can't use the big transfer. It's just they want you to source the large deposit. So the ones that really hurt are cash because you can't source cash. So it's really, and let me just tell you where it stems from. It's not because the banks are being picky. It's because they're ruled by the government and there's an anti-money laundering policy that goes into place where the banks have to, they have to report any cash large deposits. So what we're saying is anything, and just so you know, there is a limit. So it's 50% of your paycheck. So whatever your gross amount that you make every single your paycheck, that's the largest deposit that they'll allow in cash. So, but your question is great, Ava. I really appreciate it. And yes, you can use from a CD, from a savings, and just source that. I see you got your free gift.
Yes, if they want to do that, I'm just going. You guys can still ask questions. I'm just trying to keep this going. Um, if you want to schedule time
Yeah.
to speak,
I have a question.
everyone except for Tony can ask a question.
I want to raise my hand.
Okay, go ahead. Virtually
Okay.
and physically, go ahead.
Well, we haven't talked about credit unions. Are they a way to go?
No,
Okay.
that's a big no.
Can you elaborate on that answer, please?
Well, let's start with the fact of call your credit union today and see if they're going to talk to you. Let's start with that one. The credit unions are, again, listen, you know what? I use credit unions, but I use it for my car loan, right? I think they do have the best rates on the car loan. I'll use it for my auto, for any recreational items. They do have great, even personal loans. Sometimes they have a great little offer if you're going to renovate. Um, Listen, they're good for that. They're not a mortgage bank. They have a limited scope of what they're doing. And if you don't fit in that limited scope, you're out. Where we have every single program out there. And we're going to help you with the down payment assistance and we're going to help you figure out negotiation. And we're not in this little scope. We've got the whole world open.
Yeah,
So
we're saving you time. We're
um
doing the shopping for you, essentially.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's only
yeah.
one, and that's the other thing too. It's only one, we're only pulling your credit one time, which is great. We're not, are they, all of our lending institutions we link together, they use our credit report. So it's a one credit panel pool. Tony's got a question. I like the raising of the hand.
Well, I think you alluded or you briefly mentioned that you're a mortgage broker and you work with several people, but I think you really need to hit home that when you're dealing with a bank, they have one program, one
Yeah.
size does not fit all. You can shop from so many different people. So you may have been turned down by a big bank
Yeah.
and you come to us and guess what? You might just be able to buy.
Well, the biggest one that we always lose on is the FHA people. They'll come, oh, my bank needed a 640. I'm like, well, I don't need a 640. So don't that FHA doesn't even have a credit score requirement. They're the bank just sets their own, we call them overlays, right? Where they put
Mhm.
their own guideline over because that's the customer that they want. Don't be that person that gets, the customer that they want. Let us have the bank that wants you as a client. I also just wanted to put on there because she's giving away a gift for the free homebuyer gift card. If you follow my Instagram page and you're local, I'm the owner of Clear Choice Lending, if I didn't say that, but I do a monthly giveaway. Last month, I gave away a $200 gift card to CJ Black's. I try to promote local businesses. There's one coming up next week. So if you follow our Instagram page for the company, I know she's got hers up. Follow the Clear Choice one as well because we do get some cool giveaways. I'm not going to announce what it is yet, but the video is coming out. So look out for that video on our page. It'll be posted next week, and then you just got to like and share to enter. And hey, you never know, you might win a gift card. Last month, a young lady won a $200 gift card, and she happened to love CJ Black, so it worked out great for her.
That's what I'm gonna have for lunch today.
It's actually good.
I want everybody to know that we are going to send out the recording a couple different ways. If you are registered for the class, then everyone that registers for the class is going to get the replay. We encourage you to share that. I mean, chances are you know someone that's also in a similar position, maybe thinking about buying, doesn't know if they can't. So by all means, we want you to share it. If you were invited on here by a real estate professional, I urge you, I plead that you reach out to them. They want to help you. They want to develop a relationship with you. So make sure, I know several of my team members did an amazing job of getting the word out, and they have several folks on the call. They're standing by right now. They're on the call right now with us. So they're waiting to meet and talk to you. Lynette and Joey. Well, let's clarify something. Joey, what you really want is Lynette is the first point of contact. You're there
Yes,
to back her up.
absolutely.
You're the owner of the company and everything else. But the reason why it's only Lynette's contact information there is because she's our go-to person. She's our boots on the ground. So she is standing by
Yeah,
literally right now to take and answer your
yeah,
questions. If you just stumbled across this, you came across it on Facebook or you came across or something like that, and no agent in particular reached out to you, then I did share information for my co-team leader, my wife, Gabi Martinez. She can go ahead. Her contact information is there in the chat area. Reach out to her. And then if we find out as a result of the call that you did talk to one of our agents, we're going to funnel it out to them. Our goal is to support our team members, but we also want folks here that just came across our information to know who they can contact as of right now. Gabi standing by. She can take a call. She can answer the questions and everything for you. There's another question that was asked here.
yeah. I'm gonna answer that question. I'm gonna two things. One, I'm gonna answer that question. Please put your other questions up. But first of all, if you are interested in talking to a loan or setting up coming to the office, please text Lynette. Put it in the chat. We'll reach out to you. Whatever, we'll reach out to you immediately and set that up. Love to see you guys come in, have a cup of coffee with us, learn about it. So how will it messed up by opening a new line of credit? So loans have when you get a loan approval, we approve you on a basic on a box, right? This is what your debt to income ratio could look like. Here's your credit score requirement. Here's everything that we presented to the bank, and it's a beautiful photo, and they love it, and it's great, and they've already agreed to give you the loan at those terms. You go ahead and open up a line of credit. Now you've just changed your debt to income ratio, which now may change the terms of the loan or even take you out of the loan. You've also just had a risk of pulling your credit afterwards and lowering your score from the agreed score that we told them that that's what we're selling the loan for. So if you are at a 740 and now you open the line of credit, now you're at a 715, this may have hurt you, right? And now your credit is impacted, and now your rate is going to increase because you got a lower credit score. So that's why we tell people to hold off and don't open up anything because what we're presenting to the bank is, hey, here it is. Now, it's like when you're gonna sell something to somebody, a car, and you give them all these accessories. Say, look, this car comes with everything. And then when they go to pick up the car, like, hey, you told me it came with floor mats. Oh yeah, I forgot. I gave those to my brother. right? You're misrepresenting to what we did. And that's the easiest way I can kind of say it. We're presenting to them what we're guaranteeing to them, and we want to make sure that you know what it is. And if you change that, then it's not what we guaranteed them. They can change the terms up on you or deny the loan. So you don't want that. And that's a great question, though. I appreciate it. Does anybody else have any other questions on here? Or does anybody want to come into the office? Anybody in Sunrise? We're right off the Sawgrass. Come on into the office and we'll help you guys. That's what we're here for. If you need to, just please let us know. And like I said, we're not going to pull your credit. We don't want to do that. We're going to have you download the Experian app if you don't have it. We're going to use that as a credit score. We're going to look at your income, what kind of money you have to put down. If you need to see if we can show you how to apply for some grants in case you need to do a grant, depending on what your income looks like. It's a really great opportunity. And just so you know, somebody asked earlier on if you're 7 months out or 8 months out, is it the right time to do it? Absolutely. Because let me tell you something. Number one, you want to get a roadmap in place. You want to know what it's going to take to buy a house, what you can qualify for, what you can't qualify for. If you need to apply for a grant today, right? You want to know those things. And I'm just going to tell you the other secret, which Tony will tell you. You might be looking for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days. When you go under contract, you're going to close in probably within another 30 days. So that's 90 days have gone by at that point. And then guess what? Your mortgage payment isn't for 2 months after that. Your first mortgage payment, typically, if you close in March, your first payment's not till May 1st. So, there's always a great time to get ahead of it. Plus, the worst thing you want to do is if your lease is up in 6, 7, 8, 9, even a year, even if you just resigned, you want to know what it's going to take now, because if you wait till the very end and now there's a problem that you have to fix, now you don't have any time. And guess what happens? You're stuck in the rent cycle. And that's what happens to people. They're like, oh yeah, I wanted to apply. Oh man, this is wrong. My score is not there. And now I'm back in the cycle of I got to resign my lease because I got to have a place to live. And that's what you don't want to do. So I hope everybody really found this informative. I love doing these. I think that's one of the things that I love. I love real estate. I love mortgages. People tell me, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I sell shelter, man. People need a place to live and I help them get a shelter. I love it.
Well, I think this is fantastic, guys. You guys, as always, do an incredible job of laying out, like you said, the roadmap. What is the starting point? And it all begins with one phone call, one text to Lynette and to the real estate professional that reached out to you, so that, you know what, you may be a year out, you could be longer, but wouldn't it be great to know what you need to do, where you need to be at? And then you work toward that goal. How many of you woke up this morning and say, my goodness, it's already March 7th? Yeah, time goes by very quickly. You could be a year out, and next thing you know, it happens so quickly. So now is the time to get your questions answered, and now is the time to find out, can I buy now? 3 months, 2 months, 6 months, 12 months, because we're going to be there throughout the entire journey. It is a journey. And, we want to take that trip with you. Okay. We want to be a part of that. We want to partner with you. So I hope you got all of your questions answered. If there are more, again, you have Lynette's information. Reach out to the real estate professional that put you on the call. We are going to send the recording out later on today, but that's it for now. I don't think anybody's going to object that we're actually done sooner. We scheduled to go to 1 o'clock, but
wasn't it 5 o'clock?
Well, yeah, I had it. Well,
so
listen,
nice.
I got the date wrong. Why did I get the time wrong as well? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and honestly, thank you guys all for spending some time with us on a Saturday morning. I hope it was informative. I see somebody said it was very informative. I really hope it was. And honestly, if you have comments of like if we missed something, I should have said this earlier.
Yeah,
what we missed or what we should cover. We want to make this, we try to do these monthly is really what we're really trying to do. And if there's something that we missed, or like, hey man, you guys didn't cover this and this is what I was looking for, I would love to hear that so we can improve our presentation.
Yeah, I love this. And I think next time what we'll try is an evening one during the week.
Yeah.
We want to kind of mix it up, to allow for different things. But I do love the idea of scheduling them on a consistent basis. So we'll get going on that. But it looks like they liked it, guys. Once again, thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.